gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to another episode with us. As always, I am your man K Marvel.
Well, I mean, I just got back from vacation. Where's your boy QS?
What are you
You
speaking,
are
sir?
muted, sir.
You are
You're
not
muted,
speaking, sir.
Stretch, you're muted. Oh, yeah,
Technical
Nope, nope.
yeah,
difficulties.
This is,
you're muted,
you
brother.
know what? I mean, I feel
Doesn't
like
fail.
out of respect, I should just, there he is, right there, the big stretch. Nope, nope,
Nope.
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 Strike, go ahead. Nope.
And me, as usual, striker track on.
So
Damn.
while you figure that out, we are just going to say this: we are the Four Corners of Commentary. So as you already, gentlemen,
Mike was acting up.
there you go. Four
There we
Corners.
go.
That's who we
That
are.
sucks.
We are
Wholehearted
the four.
sucks.
We're the four. We're the four. We're the
That is
four.
Yeah,
that is
go ahead.
beyond
Put
angering.
your four up, sir.
Oh,
Rude.
how
So rude.
embarrassing. How embarrassing.
we are all messed up.
I'm
It's been a
very
long day.
angry over that.
It's been a very long day, ladies and gents. But before we jump into the episode, on a serious note, I just want to pay my respects to a friend of mine, Dave, Carissa. We're all here for you. We're sorry about your loss. He's a good guy. He was a good dude. He was fun loving, and he had a lot going on, but at the same time he was awesome. He was awesome. It was very it was a real sad day yesterday. That so once again, R.I.P. Dave, Carissa, you're in our hearts. So with that being said, I am going to pass it to our resident cool man, QS.
Here it goes. So, ladies and gentlemen, as always, um, how's everybody? I hope everybody's doing well. So, today's topic, we are focusing on vices, the vices and the immoral, vices within the wrestling business. Now, when you hear about the word vice, you, I know like that comes off as a matter of immoral behavior, um, moral falling. So, so in the grand scheme of things, and especially in the wrestling business, there's plenty of wrestlers that we know that have gone through.
No, QS, you're good.
Bye,
Like,
QS.
Go ahead.
like, I got you. Like,
Excuse us, technical
from
difficulties.
no, yeah, that's my fault, y'all. But but yeah, like I was saying, we know about different wrestlers that have gone through some type of moral fault. They fell short with their with addiction, drug use, drug habits, or any type of depression, or any type regarding any type of vice that caused them to fall short. And there's some wrestlers that are not here today. So I think we're this episode we're just touching on a topic about in each from the past, present to future, and well, not future, just past and present. And we're just gonna pretty much just dive into that. I mean, hopefully everybody sticks with us for that. Um, so I think the first question I would ask all of you gentlemen is, what is the title of the word vice? What does it mean to you? What does that mean to each of y'all?
Well, evidently in my case, vice means technical difficulties. Um, but
Yeah.
vice is defined as, I suppose, societally immoral actions, actions that necessarily do not lead to good outcomes. So I
Mm.
suppose that is my uh, personal definition of vice. A little bit of the textbook Webster dictionary, along with my own personal feelings of it. So,
Mm.
I don't even know if I could top that. So,
Do your best. That's all I can say.
I mean, struggles. It's the it's what you use. It's the things that you decide to uh do when you're struggling, when you're going through things, when you are going through depression or having mental anguish or just struggle. I mean, that's just the best way to put it. It's the steps that you take, and when it comes to advice, it's typically seen as a negative. Um, so I mean, we'll get into it as we go on with the episode, but that's just the best way I can put it. At least I
Uh,
think.
well, for me, vices basically personal demons. I feel it's something. It's the negative thoughts, the mental consequences of things lingering in your head. Addiction is another version of it. It's basically everyone's personal, issues that sometimes is never brought to light. Sometimes it's right there, in front of the world. And for wrestling, especially, like these things are, shown to the whole world. This is internationally known, what these people go through. And, once you become a famous person or a celebrity, you're under a microscope at the end of the day. Like everything you do, good or bad, is put out, on display for people to see. So that's for me as what I could chip in with. That's about it.
I mean, that's not bad. I could agree with. You all have very good takes on what a vice would be. Um, and Striker, to go with your point, you bringing up demons, that actually goes one of the same vices and demons. Usually like one in hand. Um, it's true. Like vices. It can be any type of struggle, any type, like I said, it's any struggle, any type of moral falling. It could be any type of dealing, whether it's with addiction or um, dealing with addiction or dealing with mental health or any type of failing. But then the next question, I think that goes into like the next part of the question is for the next part of that would be what what are some examples of actual demons that you would think some wrestlers had faced? Now, I guess I'll try to start that off. I know we always heard the story growing up. We've saw the stories have happened with the likes of Eddie Guerrero, the likes of with his battle with addiction, what he was dealing with all these years, and even him going clean, but then somewhat falling short, relapsing, and ultimately, that unfortunately led to his passing from heart failure from his addiction to painkillers. So you could even like we could even go more deeper into it by even talking about the situation with Benoit. His demons, like I know speaking about Benoit usually in the wrestling community is like taboo, but it's
Yeah.
also but it's just as important. He faced his demons as well. Like we're dealing with CTE, the brain damage, and then the loss of his best friend, the loss of Eddie, like driving him over to that edge, for like driving him to the point where he went to even end up, unfortunately killing his wife and his son, like basically killing his family and his home, and then himself. It's it's just like things like that really this plague the wrestling community or the wrestling industry as a whole. And it's wild because it's like I feel like it wasn't until after Benoit's death that the wrestling industry started really taking these matters a little bit more seriously. So I
Mhm.
mean, I would like to hear. I'd like, even if we want to like stick on the Benoit situation, we can. If y'all want to like give me a different takes on it, but I'd like to hear like more of that from y'all. Like, what more examples of like actual wrestlers do y'all know? Give some names of anything that they had dealt with their demons and vices. Actual like if it comes with addiction, mental health, or even dealings with the mob. Like you could bring them up. Like, yo,
Uh,
why not talk about it?
yeah,
Let me hear it, y'all.
I just wanted to start that part, this one, or I guess next. Um, for me, it's more so, or not for more so. I feel like a perfect example, um, to you, or one of a perfect example to you. I don't know how I'm wording this. You have to excuse me. Kurt Angle.
Mm.
Kurt Angle has
Okay.
gone through so much, um, throughout his career. His addiction to painkillers, which he's spoken about, has has uh I don't want to say diminished, but put a such a strain on him, on his body, on his mental. It from my really think, it almost ruined his life. I think that between him, Jeff Hardy, with his what, alcohol and drugs, right?
Booze, yeah. Well,
That's another one. Yeah.
Um, Jeff Hardy is another one, and thankfully, these are two people who were able to turn their lives around. But as we already know, there's a lot of people who weren't so lucky. But addiction, especially like drinking, any addiction, it's is like what we said about vice, or what I said about vices. It's that decision to go to that, and depending on how dark or how deep you are in your feelings in your mind, um of course, dictates how much you drink, how much you take, whatever the case, whatever decision you make. um and I just want to do one that I don't think a lot of people like. It's like not quick to say, is Macho Man. Macho Man went through a lot too. So, and that was, with the abuse with Miss Elizabeth, it was a lot. It was a lot. So I think, off the top of my head, those are the three people that to me, who that will, I feel like those three have like some of the perfect stories for, a situation like this.
if I could go next, when I think of like vice in the wrestling world, I think like some of the demons that some of the wrestlers gone through. I think like for me at least, the quintessential example I think is Scott Hall. Like
Mm,
you think of some of the stuff that Scott Hall has been through. He's had like multiple run-ins with the law because of drinking and stuff like that. He has PTSD from an incident that happened even before he was a wrestler. I think he was a bouncer in like a nightclub somewhere, and he accidentally had to kill someone basically to protect himself. And that had such a deep impact on his psyche alone. He's I think he's in a much better place now, especially in comparison to where he was. But something like that never truly leaves you. Like when you're addicted to something or have an addiction of some sort, it's an everyday struggle. You don't cure addiction per se, you just manage it. And I think the fact that he's a lot healthier than what he was, is a testament to not only the help that he received a lot from Diamond Dallas Page, and his like living with Diamond Dallas Page kind of cleaned him up, but it's a real testament to the human condition that if you really do want to seek help for yourself, it is possible to elevate yourself to a better place. It's much easier said than done, obviously. But kudos to Scott Hall for not giving up on himself, and kudos to the support system that Scott Hall has for not giving up on him. Whether that be the WWE sponsoring his rehab stints or whatever have you, or Diamond Dallas Page, who ultimately took him in, as well as Jake Roberts. Diamond Dallas Page did happen to do the same thing for Jake Roberts, who was a mentor of his, who helped DDP become a lot of the phenomenon what he is now. You know, uh, kudos to Diamond Dallas Page for doing work with those two individuals, but they're like the first two examples I think of when it comes to battling demons and vice in the wrestling world. And I can only thank God, as fans of theirs, that they were able to navigate a lot of those things, and even though they may still have bad days and still struggle in a lot of respects, maybe, but they are in a much much better place than they were, say, maybe 10 or 20 years ago. And kudos to both men.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Um, When I think of addiction and I think of vices in terms of, who we look at today, and people that are around, even to further stretch this point, we've had people like Ric Flair who's had, you know, a
Mm.
huge drinking addiction. And I don't remember if he used to take pills or anything of that sort, but I remember his drinking addiction was really bad. Like, if I remember, what was it, about 60 beers a night or something of that sort. And this is after a match, mind you. If you don't know a wrestler's schedule, wrestlers basically travel every day, every night. They're wrestling in new towns. That's how it was in the older days. They used to wrestle every day, every night, nonstop traveling. Whether
Yeah,
it's a road trip, whether it's a plane, didn't matter how they had to travel there. They traveled to where they had to get to for the next night, and it's ridiculous. So I bring up Ric Flair as one, and then we have people who we have like current addictions or current issues where you have people like Jimmy Uso, and it's a very hard thing to speak about, but you have people who had consistent DUIs, people who just, you would think they get on TV and they'd be, out of, whatever funk they were in, and then the next day you just hear something happened, and you're kind of like, being that they're in a focused spotlight, or they're considered a celebrity tier now, like, where's the help? Where's the help for these people? How are they getting help? How are they, coping with all of these things? Shout outs to DDP for being able to get people, back into shape and, away from their certain vices. But there's certain people still out here who's still dealing with stuff with addictions. So it's really hard for me to bring up a multitude of people, but I can give you extremes. I can give you even minor events, but the topic alone is a very, very touchy topic. Very, very touchy topic to really dive into. But
I think I think when you saying, like when you ask where's the help, I believe the help is there. Like,
mm,
I do honestly believe that even all these, it's not just with the it's any all these companies, they're
yeah,
giving these wrestlers the help. But the thing about it is when it comes to, like, sending people into like rehabilitation centers, is ultimately you got to want the help. You
yep,
do have, it's ultimately up to you to want to get that help for yourself. Like, so if you're, so I could sit here, you work for me, you over here, I see you're going through an addiction, or you have a drinking problem, alcoholism is taking you over. I could sit here and like snatch you away and tell you, boom, put you in this rehab program. That's great. You can be in that rehab program. But the point is, you're just gonna probably, you'll probably go sit out, sit in that rehab center for like what, those 30 days. And then after those 30 days is done, who's to say you're just gonna get out, and you'll probably just, it's ultimately you're still not ready to really like face this addiction, or like face it head on and heal from it. You're gonna probably, there's a chance you'll just still go back and do what you want, because just going to rehab doesn't mean that automatically you're gonna get fixed.
right,
Like, or you're not gonna fix it yourself. Like, this is
right.
what it is. It's like, so that's why I say ultimately, as much as, when you say, I'm always like speaking to you on those, on the topic, when you said that, you wanted, like, you asked, wondering like where's the help. I think the help has always been there for them. It's always
Mm,
been there, especially now, in the times of now, especially the time frame that we're in now. The help's there. Like,
mm,
I say all these companies, like, after so many, like, bad failings and tragedies that we've dealt with in the past, it's caused them to like sharpen, like, not even sharpen themselves. They're able to like pick it up quicker and be like, okay, this is what we got to do, get them help. Like, I think even before with the former, it was a former wrestler, I believe it was was it Mike Bennett?
Mike Bennett, yeah,
Yeah, like,
he wouldn't say former, but he's still wrestling.
he's still
yes,
wrestling.
But
but I mean former, when
No,
he
no,
was, when he used to work for the E, when he used to work for the E.
right,
yeah, former
Yeah,
WWE, current ROH.
yeah, he was going through his trials with addiction, and he came out with it, and even WWE extended their support and love, and they helped him get help, and he
yep,
went and got it. But it's like, oh, and that's what it goes down to show. Ultimately, you got to want to do it. You got to want the help for yourself. Like you can't.
Yeah.
Like it's on just on that aspect. It's like it's just you would wish that maybe it shouldn't have had to lead to certain wrestlers' deaths for like for this help to like really like be noticed and now be able to be made. Like I would, that's the only thing I would wish never happened. I wish that we would have not had to see a death, a death, a sudden death of Eddie Guerrero for, or a sudden spurt of a death from the Benoit family, or even like the failings or whatever of what happened with Dynamite Kid, for the business to be to like actually like pick up and just be like, okay, we see what's going on, we see these things going on with these wrestlers, we got to help them. But I think now, especially in this present time, I think a lot of the businesses now they've learned from their mistakes, and they're at least they do extend the branch. I'll give them
Right.
that, they extend the branch. But then now that also, but then I know like this is kind of I know it's we could still keep on going back and forth, but I think like a more deeper version I think for our next question would be I would ask you like which wrestlers do y'all personally relate to? Okay, that you have seen like that have dealt with these said demons that you could personally like relate to in your actual life. Like I know it's a lot. That's a lot. That's a loaded question, but I really mean it's. I'm really trying to say like what wrestler that you really see that is dealing with that you can see currently now or in the past has dealt with addiction, and
I,
you can like personally relate to it.
I'll go first, and it's not even like the example that I'm going to use isn't an addiction. It's more of a mental disorder, and I want to preface by saying first off, I don't have an eating disorder. However, I
Okay.
can see some of the parallels and some of the comorbidity with body dysmorphia and the standard of perfection that you know wrestlers hold themselves to in some cases. I'm not saying this for all wrestlers, but it's a parallel with societal expectations of like attractiveness and what
Mm-hmm.
we expect our bodies to be. And let's be honest, with wrestlers, when you think of a wrestler, you expect a wrestler to have a certain look, maybe a muscular body or whatever have you,
Right.
or to be quote unquote in shape. Now, that's a loaded term because a person doesn't necessarily have to look like, for example, maybe somebody like Lex Luger, who is chiseled
Right.
from head to toe or whatever
Mm-hmm.
have you, to be in shape. You can be in shape and have a body type that doesn't necessarily agree with the societal standard of being in shape. Now, with that said, the wrestler I'm going to mention is Dax Harwood, who recently came out that he had struggles with bulimia. He had an eating disorder at one point, and
Wow.
that's the crazy thing about bulimia is that or any mental illness for that matter, that it doesn't have a certain look. Anybody can have this type of disorder. Anybody can have a certain type of mental illness or whatever have you, or some type of personality disorder, whatever have you, and they can look just like the person that you live with, or it can look just like you. Harwood went into detail about his struggles with his weight. He's 5'10". He has a 5'10" frame, so he's not the tallest wrestler that's out there, or whatever have you. But he said at one point that he weighed 282 pounds, and he said that at a 5'10" frame that he felt like he wasn't attractive and he didn't look like a wrestler or whatever have you. But he managed to get his weight under control. He's managed to get you know
Help.
the help that he needed. Yeah, he tried all types of different diets at first, but it didn't work. But he happened to find one, like a meal plan and nutritionist that works for him. And he
Wow.
managed to get his weight under control. He looks in fantastic, physical condition now. I thought
Yeah, a lot more cut, a lot more lean.
a
Yeah.
lot more lean. He's got a lot more muscle on him now, and I think he looked even fantastic back when he was, back then when he was in WWE as part of the revival when he was Scott Dawson. But you know, I think it takes a big man for him to admit what he was going through. But I think the parallel with myself is, those standards of perfection. Like I've gained weight during COVID, a little bit of weight, whatever have you, and I have a little bit of gut. So I decided to try to work out and stuff like that. Not and again, I don't have an eating disorder, so my situation is nowhere near as dire as Dax Harwood, who had bulimia. So he was purging himself of food, and he openly admitted that he was scared to eat because he didn't want to go backwards. But you when you put so much pressure on yourself, it ties into body dysmorphia. It doesn't matter in some cases what you do, if you don't have that happiness with yourself, you're never. It doesn't matter what you look like. You're not going to be happy. That's what body dysmorphia is. You can look like $1,000,000, but you don't see it. You see something that's completely different than what others see. You might think that you're hideous when other people view you as beautiful or whatever have you, or you fit some type of societal standard of beauty. I would honestly bet that there's a good amount of wrestlers out there that have some type of body dysmorphia because of the demand on what a wrestler, quote unquote, is supposed to look like. And in regards to myself, I have standards for myself, and there's a lot of things that I have about myself physically that I have insecurities over. And I think that a part of conquering those insecurities and being comfortable with them is admitting that you do have some type of insecurity about yourself.
Yeah.
For example, I've had a lot of surgeries on my legs, a lot of growth surgeries. My legs have had to be full disclosure. My legs have had to be broken and reset. I have a metal plate on my right shin now, actually, that I still have. I've never gotten it removed. I'm very insecure about the way I walk and the way it looks to other people and the way I stand. I'm incredibly insecure about my legs. However, I think that over time I've accepted, that my legs are a little bit different. I don't really focus on it too much anymore. But when I was much younger, it was always something that bothered me. I'm not afraid to admit that. And I have a little bit of that insecurity now to this day, but I think that a part of accepting who you are as a person is even accepting things that you consider to be flaws,
Hear that. I mean, if you want, I could go. Okay. Sheesh. It. A lot of people go through depression. A lot of people go through, as Stretch said, the perfection mentality. That the body dysmorphia issues and stuff like that. For me, I can really I feel there's a lot of wrestlers who feel that they're not doing enough, or they're not or they feel like they're stuck in a spot and they're not really progressing, I guess you can say. And that, I guess, that does fall in a bit of a perfectionist mentality. I know there's a lot of wrestlers who really go hard for, to be the best. You see people like John Cena, you see people like The Rock, who basically, to no end, they're always in the gym, they're always working, they're tirelessly doing this and tirelessly doing that. And I feel that can be a vice as much as that is a positive. Some people don't know, the end of the barrel, I guess you can say, or the end of, or the bottom of the barrel, I should say. They don't know where that stops. It's always like a bottomless ordeal for people. So for me personally, it's just always striving to be better. I think that can be a negative as well as a positive. I feel in the industry, there's a lot of people that do stuff right, but they don't really get noticed, or they don't really make it to the big time, I guess you can say. Some people are very happy with that. You have people like R-Truth who tend to play the background a bit. And then you have people like who Braun Strowman, who just recently got released. He dealt with a lot of things in his past where he dealt with his image, he dealt with being bullied and stuff like that. And he was in a very high position, and now he's released. What does that do for a lot of people? So in terms of vices, I think that even though there's certain positive, even though there's a lot of negative things that we can speak about as well, there's positive things that can be very toxic and very that can push or weigh people down. I'll bring Ric Flair back up again, because Ric Flair, at the height of his career, was doing all of these things and, kept himself up, but he had taken he was drinking like crazy. He was doing drugs. I'm pretty sure, he didn't get a wink of sleep. You speak about Kurt Angle and him taking painkillers. some of Kurt Angle's best work was around this time of him taking these painkillers. And this is during the Impact era. I don't remember if it was in the WWE era or at least the end of his WWE run the first time around. But I know for his Impact work, that was some of the best work we've ever seen out of Kurt Angle. And this man was on Vicodin, where it's to some points he was popping 60, 70 pills a night just to keep at his best.
Insane to me.
Kurt was out here doing moonsaults off of six-sided rings in TNA.
Perk Angle.
Off of cages.
Perk Angle.
Perk Angle is what we would call him. Percocet Angle or
Perk
Vicodin Angle. Right. It's we say it is not funny, and we may say it's a very negative connotation, but it's ridiculous to believe somebody's popping 60 painkiller pills a night.
And they're not dead.
And they're not dead, exactly. And they're not dead.
You could even bring back up, was it Victory Road? The infamous Victory Road with Jeff Hardy.
Jeff Hardy.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that was man.
Yeah.
Horrible moment.
That was
That was a dark
Horrible
moment.
moment. But it showed.
It showed.
There's a lot of people to blame for that. Like, first off, I know Jeff is the party that we're talking about here. We're talking about addiction, but there has to be a level of accountability for that. That is Jeff's fault for showing up impaired to work or whatever have you. Whoever sent,
there's also management's fault as well.
Yes, that's that right. Whoever sent Jeff out there, and I'm not sure of the particulars. I think Eric Bischoff talks about it on his 83 Weeks podcast, but I have not checked that out in a minute or whatever have you. But I think he's addressed it. But whoever sent him out there in that condition, it's not a good look, man. That's
at all.
It was a horrible, horrible decision.
He wasn't in any shape to even compete. Like, and that left a bad taste not only on for the fans, but even that left a bad taste a bad look on Sting.
Right.
That was a match he was looking forward to, like putting on a good match, and he couldn't even do it. It's like it had to just get finished in 1, 2, 3 because he wasn't.
It was visible.
It was visible. Like he couldn't even.
He was visibly angry. He was and Sting was visibly angry at this. Like you could see him just berating Jeff Hardy, even if you seen it in little stints. But his reaction after the match, just his anger building throughout the whole match. Like you could see how bad it was. Yeah. It's very bad. It's very bad. But as I said, with the negatives, there's the positives. We see people come out of these things. We see people that live. We see people who passed away. But also, even with people passing away, you now have awareness for these things.
Absolutely.
And the awareness is the great thing about it.
I think if there's one, because I know I didn't give my take on it. I think if there's a wrestler that I could say that was going through his troubles, but I probably could relate to in a sense. I know it may get a little bit of flack because he has a very checkered past, but the Ultimate Warrior. Now the reason why I say now the only reason why I say the Ultimate Warrior is because after watching his documentary of Dark Side of the Ring, I came to realize that Warrior probably also suffered from imposter syndrome. And it's really like he's suffering from this aspect where he was always so hard on himself. Like he really like in a sense he saw that he was supposed to be like the guy, because I know at the time it was like him, it was Warrior and Hogan. It was like they was pushing Warrior to be like come take the reins after Hogan, but I think it's at the same time Warrior was also extremely impatient. He was impatient. He wanted about the same type of success. He wanted the same type of money that Hogan had. He wanted basically everything, all the accolades and fame that Hogan already had established. Warrior wanted that. He wanted that, and he felt that he's worked so hard to get to this point. So he was more or less, I think was being more hard on himself. It's like, why is it that I'm not getting the same thing that Hogan's getting? I should be like and it started him just being even more hard on himself, to the point where he was even making insane demands, to the point where he's just not coming into work. He'll hold the title, like they're not going to take anything. basically the business isn't going to move if he doesn't move. And of course,
Mm,
Vince came and gave him a reality check, like, no, the business is going to move. You're just fired. And I mean,
yeah.
ultimately, that definitely left at that time. I think is because Warrior, when I say his imposter syndrome, is like Warrior basically was getting in his own way. That caused him to basically burn a lot of bridges in that time.
Mhm,
Whereas then later on, luckily he was able to even though he said a lot of outlandish things, well, a lot of the things he was able to just rectify. Even at least with the E, he was able to rectify it.
mhm,
It's just unfortunate that when he came out even on Raw and he did that, he went and got inducted to the Hall of Fame, came out on Raw night after WrestleMania, gave that legendary, like great legendary promo, inspiring promo, and then the day after he dies. It was just
yeah.
that's
that's
nuts.
that in
Like,
itself is like it's so like bizarre, but it's like wow, like everything came full circle. It's like yo,
yeah.
to really think like you were holding on to like all of this guilt, like all
Right.
of these guilt, this burnt or all these bridges that you had burned, that you thought you burned back in the day, but yet when you came back, like even Vince, you said a lot of things about Vince, but Vince still came back and accepted you with open arms.
Mhm,
Everybody they still, even the universe, they still loved you. They loved you. The WWE universe loved you. They still embraced you. Because at the end of the day, I think they did it to like make him realize like no matter what, yes, Warrior was still a legend. So I think when I say that, it's like I think like Warrior's story alone is like I say is a reality check for me is like every time that where I feel like I am getting in my own way or I feel like I'm like my own worst critic or my own worst enemy, I may end up being outlandish and like 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 accidentally burning bridges or like casting people away when I shouldn't.
mhm,
But then when it's like able to recenter yourself and you can come back and try to like rectify those things. It's a blessing to see like those same people that you did like you were attempting to push away, they still come back and embrace you with open arms. Just remind you like, you still have a village here for you. I, I mean that's how I take it from the Warrior story. Like, granted, I know he said a lot of like ridiculous things, and Warrior's not even he's not even close into my top 30. He's not even in my top 30 like
mhm,
favorite wrestlers of all time. It's just a matter of he had I think just his story alone, like from his upbringing, like what he had to deal with, it was interesting. It's interesting in that story alone is what probably made him one of the most polarizing figures of in this industry. And I think like it's just crazy how in the end it all came full circle. It was just unfortunate, like that was the end result that, you come back, you're giving a promo for the kids, give something to inspire everyone. Like, and everybody knows that episode of Raw. Like when he said that, when he gave that warrior spirit, the warrior will
mhm.
run on and will
O-
live forever. It sat with you. It
Only
was just
like
like,
he can.
yeah, it was just like, wow, like that really sat with you. And then literally the next day, he's gone. It's like,
Yep.
whoa,
Yeah.
like stuff like that. You really gotta like sit back and just you can't take this for granted.
There's a bit of a thing where I in life I believe how certain people pass away in freaky instances like that. Um, I think by him, clearing up everything that he did, that Raw kind of put his soul at ease.
Right.
Yeah,
So
that's
I
So
wouldn't say karma, but I'd say the world or the universe works in a mysterious way like
it.
that.
Just it just all comes back full circle. It's like
Right.
it's just so it's just like yo, like like it's like yeah, as polarizing as they are, like some wrestlers just you just have to understand. It's like yo, that was probably part of his calling.
right.
That was part of his calling, and it's clear on it's his legacy still is here today. Like they even have they have a whole legacy award for him even now, the Warrior Award. And look at how many people who are just, that's even came after and they have that award. Like
Right.
you got the likes of Connor, you got the likes of Titus. Like these are all Titus O'Neil. Like all of these warrior recipients like that are I can't give all the names, but it's like, but it just goes to show it's just like in the end, I'd say for Warrior at least, like at least he has a legacy to live by.
Right.
Now you could even talk. I mean, of course, you could talk about the negatives. And it's unfortunate. I mean, that I didn't even. It was only because of Dark Side of the Ring that I even knew about what happened with Dynamite Kid. I didn't realize that all of those things was really going on with him. Like I know more or less Stretch is more of the historian on that aspect than I am because I was just like, wow, whoa. Because the most I knew about Dynamite Kid was that Dynamite Kid was one of Chris Benoit's like greatest inspirations
Mhm.
between him, oh, and also Daniel Bryan. So it's just that's all I go on to that. But
Do the same clothesline. Those two did
Yeah.
Benoit and Dynamite Kid.
Yep.
Same lariat. That little like bend over after they do lariat.
I think for that, for even with that, I think the next part of the question would then be, I would ask is, what are some solutions that you'd see to help battle the focus of addiction in the wrestling business today? So, what like seriously, God, like, what would you guys think would be the um, what would be the best direction, the best notation? What's to go forward? What should we do? What can we actually see go forth to make this better? And this is a free for all.
Well, the first thing I would like to see, um, I think that with all the advancements, and I'll use the WWE as an example because they're the biggest company and they have the most money. I think with all the advancements that we've seen in wrestling medicine, as far as their physical demands are concerned, I think that they should be making strides for mental health practitioners within their company as well. Um, just having that lifeline of somebody within the company to reach out to talk to, or whatever have you. Wrestling is just as taxing on mentally as it is physically. You get sore, you get beat up. You combine with that with the travel of it all. You don't necessarily get that physical contact with family and loved ones as much as you'd
Yeah.
like if you have it. You miss major dates. There's probably been some wrestlers out there who have children or whatever have you,
Yeah.
don't get to see their kids' first words or kids' first steps. They don't get to see their kids off to kindergarten,
Or
whatever
more.
have you. The only interaction that they have with their children is when probably when they come home or when they're hurt. And
Yeah.
and that goes for women as well. Not just men. There's a lot of professional wrestlers out there who are probably mothers. And go through those same circumstances. With that said, the physical demands and the mental demands are just as much on par, and I think
Yeah.
that there should be a mental health component within companies that can afford it, like the WWE, like AEW, maybe New Japan as well. I hope that the wrestlers know that they do have a lot of support, on the internet as well. I know fans in some cases can be jerks. There's jerks in every corner of the internet and whatever have you, every little cesspool of the internet like Facebook and Reddit and Twitter and stuff like that. But there are a
Mhm.
lot of good fans out there that support the wrestlers as well. I hope that
Yeah.
the wrestlers understand that. And I'm like super glad, like when I use Dax Harwood as an example, because when he came out with like the revelation that he at one point had an eating disorder and struggled with his weight, a lot of fans were very supportive of him and told them how proud they were of him for being able to overcome some of those aspects. So I hope that the wrestlers out there that and the amount of people who listen to the show know that you do have support systems, especially those wrestlers, because you do have those fans. And those fans will be very supportive of you.
Mhm.
Um, I just think it's very similar to what Stretch said. I think there needs to be, excuse me, I think there definitely needs to be some type of, inside component, some type of section, branch, position, for and not saying that there isn't, because we don't know. Honestly, there probably is already.
Yeah, that's
Um,
again speculation on my part. I
right.
don't know that.
Well, it's all me too, because I was about to say the same thing. But it's definitely, if not, I think there just needs to be more awareness more than anything else, because we all go through it. We all go through something. And especially when it comes to addictions, because addiction could be from drinking to smoking to excessive video game playing to
Yeah, it could be physical or
like,
mental.
yeah, like Straker said, excessive,
That
exercising,
is very true. Yeah.
abuse,
Hmm.
Anything can be an
you
addiction.
know,
A lot of
and
people don't realize
Right.
literally
Yeah.
anything.
anything can be an
And
addiction.
that, working, just working, period.
Hmm.
Sometimes you just you need to keep your mind off of something, and you can get addicted to whatever you could be addicted to being busy. You could be addicted to being lazy. You can
Right.
it's all about confronting your addiction, confronting your problems, and finding a way to go around. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Pardon me. Going around the wall, going over the wall, or busting through the wall. For lack of a better term. You know, um, I think I do think just awareness in general, awareness and kindness is really the two things that I feel. Everything is mental. You know what I mean? You never know what someone is going through. During right before we recorded this, we were watching SmackDown, and the fans came back and everybody's happy and excited, but somebody like the Universal Champion Roman Reigns, who went through leukemia or has leukemia and goes through these stages, and he loves his job, he loves his business, but who knows what he's going through home. So
Right.
there's just so many different things and so many different factors, and I think yes, things need to be in place. So hopefully, we would like to think that every business has some type of mental health field or department that can help their workers. Uh, but at the same time, it's all about the individual. You have to remember that, number
Right.
one, you're not alone. First and foremost, you are not alone. There just like you're going through something, somebody else is going through something. Everybody has a struggle. Um, but that's what I think.
I well personally I do feel this is honestly long overdue. I feel that every wrestler, every wrestling company needs to give every of their workers, all of these wrestlers need to have health insurance. This is a non-negotiable. Like this
Agreed.
we are well into 2021. We're almost done with 2021. It'll soon, before you know it, be 2022. There should be no reason why all of these companies, these wrestling titans, wrestling wrestling companies that you consider titans, are not sitting here giving their workers who are independent contractors, giving them separate health insurance. They For anything that has to worry about them dealing with their own mental health, whether it's their own, yeah, you can make a mental health space for them, or you, but they shouldn't even. That should already be included. That should be already included with their health insurance. They shouldn't have to go, because if they're going to go see these mental health professionals, they still have to pay for that out of pocket, and that's something that they shouldn't have to be paying for. This is like
Hmm.
when it comes to like within your mental, taking care of your mental health, or if it's physical therapy, you shouldn't be having to come out of pocket with that at all. Health insurance should be taking care of that. Like this is
Right.
they're granted, like, yeah, these wrestlers have money, but they're just like us too. They're regular people.
Yeah.
They're regular people that go through pain. They're
They
going
bleed
through
like
pain.
we do.
Yeah, bleed like we do. They hurt like we do. They cry like we do. Like they should be able to go. This should be something that should be accepted for everyone. Um, but not even just with health insurance. That of course that needs to be a given. I I do also feel that maybe there needs to be like more like workshops together,
Hmm.
in the sense of like getting like actually like the own, like if I know it's like a far-fetched dream, but it would be something that I would love to see, like even Stephanie McMahon try to do, like owners like that, like come down, like bring the workers together, like when they're even though on tour before they have to go out and rehearse, like and literally like check in on everyone and see like, yo, how's everybody doing? Everything going? How's everything going? Like, because
Mhm.
again, like, show that y'all like really care about your workers. Like, this is not going to move. This because they without them, this wheel can't keep turning like that. I just
Right.
like check in with them, see how they're feeling, but also try to come to like a like hear them out, saying like what what's really going on with them, and see, and so that way if they know what's going on with them, they could pick up quicker and be like, all right, so I know how to fix that.
Mhm.
Right.
Um, I guess to end off the question, awareness needs to be to the forefront. Uh, Seeing Bianca Belair's chronicle and hearing what she went through with depression and how how on the brink she was, at a young age. Mind you, you see her now, she's bright, she's jubilant, she's very happy. You couldn't tell me different seeing her on TV right now that she was going through something like this, a few years ago, if not maybe, a little bit over a few years ago. But awareness needs to be a thing. Um, I feel wrestlers or even celebrities, coming out and saying they're dealing with things and stuff like that, it humanizes them to us as regular people. But I feel there should be more campaigns of, different types of mental disorders, different types of, physical disorders,
Right.
or even, just people saying, I strive to be the best, I strive to be this, I strive to be that. But, there's times where I get burnt out too. So,
Mm,
be able to tell people that, we're human just like you. Just
that's
like we were saying before, we bleed just like everybody else bleeds. We hurt, we go through things,
that's true.
make more people aware of that. And I
Right.
feel, there are some fans who are very heartless and don't care and they're very deep into the character work, but you also
Yeah.
have to realize the people behind the characters.
But that is true. We that's what we probably need. We need more commercial ads of that. We always get the
Right.
commercial ads. And it's no disrespect to the organizations like the Susan G. Coleman's or
Right.
the Make a Wish. No disrespect to them, but it would
No
be nice to
disrespect
see
to them, no.
just. But of course, see some different type of commercial settings like that. Like but you saying I strive to be the best. When you say things like that, sometimes those words can be even triggering, and it causes
Right.
even more problems.
Exactly.
Yeah, striving to be the
Exactly.
best when there
Because
is
the
no.
minute that
Yeah,
peg or that pedestal is taken
yeah.
from you,
You putting
you
the
start to
pedestal.
topple down.
Yeah, you're putting the pedestal on yourself that doesn't exist.
Right.
Right.
There's no such because in truth there really is no such thing as perfection, and there's no such thing as the best.
Right.
Nobody. There isn't.
There's
The
always
only
somebody better.
there's always going to be somebody better. There's always going to be somebody bigger than you, faster than you, stronger than you, better than you.
Exactly.
That's
That's
literally
that's how it is.
Unless
that's
you're
it.
Bianca Belair because she's the
I mean, of
EST.
course, unless you're Bianca Belair because she's the EST
Assessment.
and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's like isn't that Darwin's theory of like natural selection? Like
Right.
it's just always
Exactly.
keeps going around in circles.
Right.
Not
Yeah.
to say that not to say that
Circle of life.
I mean, yeah, y'all about to say not to say that we're out here just feeding on the weak. Like, no,
No, no,
that's.
no, no.
But y'all know what I mean. Like, you know what I'm trying to mean by this. Like, at the end of the day, like they have so many different type of organizations they can do. They can do that. They can
Mhm.
do different commercial ads. They can do. They need to
Hell,
give
they can
them
all
health
team up
insurance.
and create
Yeah, we
something
could do suicide
that goes
prevention. We
viral.
could do depression hotline. We
Yeah,
could do all these
yeah,
other
literally,
things. You know.
literally.
And I feel they should definitely reach out because there's been a lot of things happening. Even we can talk about wrestling. We can talk about we can talk about just regular sports athletes. We can talk about wrestling specifically. We could talk about just regular people. But there's people out on these streets every day dealing with stuff. You never know if you're watching a wrestling match or you're watching this and that. You see this character so jubilant, then you really go and see a chronicle, and you notice that these people are really human.
I mean, we've
They
seen
go
it.
through a lot of shit that we go through regularly,
I
Yeah,
had
and be like, "Oh my God, I like this person more now because I see
Yeah,
that, oh, they're a bit autistic. Maybe
because
they had somebody that's autistic in their
because you
family.
I think
because they can relate to them.
yeah,
Right. So basically, I'm giving specifics, but I basically mean in a general sense, just humanize, just be human with everybody else, show that you're relatable. And I
I
think
get,
that brings people closer to the business. That
I,
brings people closer to these characters as
you
well.
know, I think it was good that they're doing it now, but it's like another part of you in the back of your mind just wishes that they did
It would have
right.
been back then.
Like they should have did right, but like I granted, like again, I don't like to keep going back. I don't want to keep going back to the Benoit situation, but in the grand scheme of things, like with everything that we know now, we can all kind of agree, like they that it,
It
everyone
could have
could
been
have been.
prevented, yeah.
It could have been not that it could have been
Could have been
prevented.
prevented.
We don't know what could we don't know
Well,
we
that's true
can't be the
too.
judge of that. We can't be the judge of what could have prevented. But I'm saying what we could have done is, especially with the family, like stuck by them, stuck by the
Hmm.
family. I felt like everyone, and I'm talking about the business, all from all different sides, and even the fans itself, like stick by the
Right.
family, like not leave them stranded and making them be like and like turning their backs on it because of the situation, because because that was a clear sign of mental health and depression right there as well. Like,
Hmm.
right,
and we can't be looking down on that, you know.
right.
Yep.
Well, ladies and germs, this has been another episode. We thank you guys for following us and being a part of this. We shall continue this in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Gentlemen, real quick before we jump into our socials, I just want us to do a shout out each real fast, real quick. I'll start off. Jobbeteers, Battle Club Pro. Shout out to them. They got an event coming out in a couple weeks. Uh
July 31st.
July 31st in Brooklyn, New York. And yeah, boys are
The
gonna be
four.
there.
The
Yeah,
You
four of
already know.
us.
yeah, we're sponsoring now. We're
We're
sponsoring.
sponsoring,
Sponsors.
baby. So
We are
be on the
Sponsoring.
officially
lookout.
sponsors.
Be on the lookout. We will be streaming the show live.
Hmm.
So be prepared. Striker, you got anybody real quick?
Um, Shout out to Butcherman, a part of Singapore Pro Wrestling. Shout out to
What up?
Wrestle Bay Vanity. I haven't spoken to her in a while, but shout out to her. She's doing her thing as a breed combination wrestling champion, a women's champion, excuse me. Um,
Hello, sir.
shout. Let me see, maybe one more. Shout out to Koga. He knows who he is. Boom.
Hey, what's good, bro? Quiet. QS, you
Um,
smooth bastard.
of course. So I will, as always, I will give a shout
Hit
out
it.
to I will give a shout out to Nothing But the Truth podcast. Just with Miss Truth and Blaze. As always, that's our podcast family. I always got love for them. Shout out to them. Check their podcast out. Also to the Fillmore boys himself, Freud and Mari. Shout outs to y'all. Keep doing y'all thing. Look out for their pop up shop coming. But on another somber note, sorry, we still got to give a rest in peace to Biz Markie. Uh,
Absolutely.
R.I.P. Biz.
absolutely. RP to him. One of probably the best DJs, MC, one of the best DJs and hype man that we grew up knowing.
Beatboxer.
Um, it's a sad situation. You know, just got to keep the family in their prayers, and just pray for a safe travel home. That's all.
Yeah. Stretch.
I got a couple. I'm gonna do them really fast. Shout out to my immediate podcast family, Views from Drew. You can check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever else you get podcasts near you. But a special shout out to my boy Dels, who had his gender reveal party today. He is going to be a first time
Hey.
father of a beautiful baby girl. We can't wait to meet you. And I'm pretty sure that you have got the jackpot hand in life because you will have two awesome parents. Also, shout out to our very own Bob Schmidbauer, who actually designed our logo. Today is his birthday.
Hey. What's up,
I just
Bob?
want to
Oh
give him
wow.
a
Happy
shout out
birthday to our
today.
graphic.
Thank you, Bob, for all the stuff that you do for us and all the designs
Yes.
that you've given us over the
Definitely.
years. You definitely
Yes.
Thank
are
you,
important
Bob.
for this
Thank you.
podcast. He's one of the guys that helps us behind the scenes, and he definitely
Sure.
helps us in the group as well. Thank you,
One of
just for
one of the
you.
founding members. Remember
Yes, one of the
that.
founding members of this group that we have on Facebook. Thank you for being you. Thank you, and have a happy birthday, Bob.
Very
Birthday,
last
Bob.
thing, I just want to shout out Top Rope Squishy. Shout out to Maddie. What's going on? And shout out to the Bird and the Villain. What's going on, guys? We'll get y'all
Yes,
back
Wolf
on.
King.
So we're definitely gonna do that. So we're gonna do our socials as always. Strike started.
Striker Dragoon, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram. I'm ramping up Instagram posts and everything. Just find me there.
Stretch.
Well, you'll see it down in the left-hand corner down there. The big
Not
the human encyclopedia. You see the Instagram down there, ladies and gentlemen. Nah.
QS.
boy.
Boy. Well,
Yeah, yikes.
Theo, where's Theo at? Theo.
as you can see, you already know, Forever Deepin. I'm not spelling that out. Never going to do that. Still, sorry. I'm still reeling in from coming back from vacation.
Claire.
As you can see, you can
Claire,
still
do you hear that? The boy can't spell
tan.
Claire.
This tan is impeccable at this moment. As always, look out for Ratchet Sundays. If you know, you know. That is all I'm going to say on that. If you know, you know. That's all.
New season on Sunday. New season.
No,
And
just a
as
new show.
always, oh God. And as
That's why I
always,
said
I'm
new
K
season.
Marvel.
You know, off season.
I hate it.
No off season, pure ratchetness.
Get rid of it.
I hate it. As always, K Marvel. You can find me at Mr. Marvel 87 on majority of my stuff. That's the best way I'm gonna put it. You can follow the Four Corners of Commentary on excuse me, I'm blanking out on everything. On everything. We're on
Facebook,
freaking
Instagram,
everything.
We're
Facebook,
everywhere.
Twitch, Twitter is CO Commentary.
We're everywhere you are.
All of your podcast listening podcasts.
Okay, not
Spotify,
everywhere.
Apple Music, if YouTube, Google Podcasts, Audible. If you are on Apple Music, please give us a 5-star rating. Leave us a message, a review. Excuse me. Leave us a review. And everybody, make sure to like, share, subscribe, do all of that good stuff. Comment. We got a lot of things coming up, folks. As I said, we got Battle Club Pro coming up on the 31st, so be ready for that. Folks, we are the Four Corners of Commentary. We out. As soon as I, click the button, and then,
Yeah, we'll get there eventually.
we'll be out. Yeah. I'll do it.
Can you check it out? I can't keep this out like